The silence on the other end wasn't really silence at all. My parents thought they'd hung up, but their voices cut through my phone, sharp, unfiltered, brutal. "Living with Lois is exhausting," my dad said, voice cold as winter. "But we stick it out. At least until we drain her trust fund." Then my brother Garrett laughed, that cruel, knowing laugh. "She's basically a walking ATM. Pathetic how desperate she is for family." My hand clenched around the phone. My heart slammed against my ribs. $340,000. That's what they'd already stolen from the inheritance my grandmother left me. And they weren't done. I didn't hang up. I hit record. By the time I was finished, they didn't just lose my money. They lost everything. And I need to know, would you have done the same? Please drop your answer below, because what happens next? They never saw it coming. I'm Lois, 29 years old, software engineer, and up until that Tuesday night, I thought I knew my family. It started normal, ordinary, the kind of evening that should have ended with leftovers and Netflix. I'd just gotten off the phone with my mom. She'd called while out running errands with my dad and brother. Standard stuff. Did we need milk? Should she pick up bread? The usual grocery coordination for the house we'd been sharing for 2 years in Portland's Selwood neighborhood. My house, the one I'd bought with my inheritance, the one they'd been living in, rent-free since 3 months tops, turned into 24 months. I set my phone on the kitchen counter, grabbed a knife, and started chopping bell peppers for stir-fry. Garlic sizzled in the pan behind me. The evening news played on my tablet propped against the toaster. Nothing felt wrong. Then I heard voices. At first, I thought it was the tablet, maybe a commercial. But the voice was too familiar, too close. My dad. "How much longer do we keep this charade going?" I froze, knife hovering over a half-cut pepper. My breath caught somewhere between my lungs and throat. That's when I realized the call hadn't ended. They thought they'd hung up. They hadn't. My mom's voice came next, quieter, but just as sharp. "Until we've secured enough. Lois hands over money like she's afraid we'll leave. She won't notice until it's too late." My ribcage felt too small for my lungs, too tight, like my chest was collapsing inward. Then Garrett, my brother, my supposed ally, laughed. Not a chuckle. A full, mocking, knowing laugh that made my stomach drop. "She actually thinks we care," he said. "She's so desperate for family approval. She'll do anything to keep us around. It's pathetic." That word. Pathetic. It hit me like a fist to the gut. My dad's voice again, flat and matter-of-fact. "The trust fund is the only reason we tolerate her. Once we drain it, we're out. Phoenix. Like we planned." I stared at my phone. The call timer kept ticking. 1 minute, 2, 3, 4 minutes and 37 seconds of unfiltered truth I was never supposed to hear. They thought I was gone, thought they were safe. But I heard every single word. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, from something else. Something colder, sharper. I didn't hang up and call them back demanding answers. I didn't even think about confronting them when they got home. Instead, I opened my recording app and hit the red button. Because something in me, some instinct I didn't know I had, whispered, "This is just the surface. There's more. And you're going to need proof." The call finally ended. Static. Then silence. Real silence this time. I stood there in my kitchen, surrounded by the smell of burning garlic I'd forgotten about, holding evidence of my family's betrayal in the palm of my hand, and I knew everything was about to change. Have you ever overheard something that shattered your world? Team keep listening or team hang up? Comment below. If you're here because family betrayal hits different, please subscribe. Stories like this drop every day. The next one? Even darker. Let me take you back, because you need to understand how I became the perfect target. 4 years ago, I was 25. My grandmother Ruth got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave her 6 months. She lasted 11, fighting every single day. I became her full-time caretaker, moved into her house, worked my software job remotely, and spent every other hour keeping her alive, bathing her when she was too weak to stand, reading to her when the pain meds made her too foggy to focus, holding her hand through chemo-induced nausea that lasted for days. My parents? They visited twice a year, Christmas and Easter. 45-minute visits where they'd ask Ruth how she was feeling, eat her cookies, and leave. Garrett, my older brother by 3 years, came once, to her funeral, and only because he thought there'd be money in it for him. Turns out, he was right. The will reading happened at a law office in downtown Portland. Small room, big mahogany table, Ruth's attorney reading words she'd written 6 months before she died. I leave my entire estate to my granddaughter Lois Brennan. $547,000. The house she'd owned for 40 years, sold. Her savings, investments, life insurance, all of it. To me. I watched my parents' faces go white, watched Garrett's jaw clench so hard I thought his teeth might crack. The attorney, this older woman with kind eyes, looked directly at me when she said, "Ruth wanted this to go to the person who loved her, not the person who needed her money." That line stuck with me. Still does. 6 weeks after the funeral, my dad got laid off from the lumber mill where he'd worked for 18 years. My mom's part-time job at a gift shop wasn't enough to cover rent. Garrett was bouncing between construction gigs, sleeping in his truck because he couldn't afford an apartment. They came to me together, sitting in my new living room, the house I'd just bought in Selwood using Ruth's money, looking defeated and desperate. "Just until we get back on our feet," my dad said. 3 months, tops. I said yes, because that's what family does, right? You help when people are struggling. You open your home. You share what you have. I set up the guest rooms, stocked the kitchen, covered utilities, groceries, everything. I believed in family loyalty above all else. Ruth's voice echoed in my memory sometimes, something she'd told me near the end. "Blood means nothing without love, sweet girl." I thought she was being philosophical, poetic. She was warning me. What I didn't know, what I wouldn't discover until that Tuesday night phone call, was that they'd been planning this since the day the will was read. I found their group chat later. 3 members. Mom, Dad, Garrett. Subject line: Operation Golden Goose. 3 months turned into 2 years. And in those 2 years, they took everything. But that Tuesday night? That's when I stopped being their victim. Would you have let family move in after inheriting money? Or protected yourself first? Honest answers only. Comment below. I was about to call them back and confront them the second I heard that phone call. Demand answers right then. But a voice, maybe Ruth's ghost, maybe my own survival instinct, whispered, "Wait. Gather proof. Destroy them completely." Wednesday morning, I woke up with a plan. Simple. Act normal. Watch everything. Document everything. Breakfast was a performance. I made scrambled eggs, poured orange juice, smiled like nothing had changed. My dad sat at the table, fidgeting with his coffee mug. His eyes kept darting away from mine, quick glances, then back to his phone. The kind of behavior you'd see from someone who knew they'd been caught, but wasn't sure if you knew yet. My mom floated into the kitchen with this forced cheerfulness that made my skin crawl. "Such a beautiful day. Should we go shopping later? Maybe hit that outlet mall?" Shopping? With my money, of course. "Maybe," I said, keeping my voice light. "I've got work stuff today." Garrett was sprawled on the couch in the living room, scrolling through his phone, not even acknowledging I existed. Same as always. Except now I knew why. I wasn't a sister to him. I was a paycheck. I studied their faces like code I needed to debug. Every tick, every lie, every forced smile. Then I locked myself in my home office. My bank account login screen stared back at me. I'd avoided looking at it closely for months, trusted them, thought we were pooling resources like a real family. That trust died the moment I started scrolling. $12,000 transfer to G. Brennan Home Repairs. Garrett never fixed anything. The man didn't own a screwdriver. $80,500 to Brennan Family Emergency Fund. I never authorized that. Never even heard of it. Then, the recurring transfers. $2,400 every single month for 18 months, labeled household expenses, going to an account I didn't recognize. I opened a spreadsheet, started documenting dates, amounts, descriptions. Running total, $89,400 in 18 months. My hands were shaking by the time I finished. Thursday, I followed them. Mom's volunteer work at church? She was at a luxury spa getting a $300 facial. I watched through the window as she reclined in a chair, cucumber slices on her eyes, looking completely relaxed. On my dime. Dad's job interviews? Sports bar on Hawthorne Boulevard? Drinking expensive whiskey? Watching basketball on 3 different screens. No resume. No interview clothes. Just lies. Garrett's meeting with a potential employer? A pawn shop on 82nd Avenue. And there, in the display case, was Ruth's antique clock. The one she'd wound every Sunday morning for 40 years. The one I thought was safely packed in the attic. He was selling her things. I took photos of everything. Timestamps. Locations. Saved them in a file on my phone labeled Evidence Log Day 2. Friday, the mail came. Credit card statement, addressed to me. From a company I'd never used. Balance, $34,700. I tore it open. Purchases going back 6 months. A motorcycle. Designer furniture. Electronics I'd never seen. Restaurant charges at places I'd never been. I called the credit bureau immediately. "This is fraud," I said, my voice steady despite the rage boiling in my chest. "I never opened this account." The representative paused. "Ma'am, the signature matches our records, and the application came from your IP address." My IP address. My home computer. They'd forged my signature, used my own internet connection to commit fraud. But that wasn't the worst part. When I checked the transaction history, really dug into it, I found charges from 2 years ago. Before they even moved in, they'd been planning this theft from the day Ruth died. I thought I'd found everything. I was wrong. What I discovered Friday night made the credit card fraud look like pocket change. At this point, would you confront or keep digging? Let me know. This decision changed everything. While searching my dad's email, password taped under his keyboard because of course it was, I found messages to someone named VK Cryptic, urgent, talking about the timeline moving up and splitting the assets. Who was VK? I was about to find out. Saturday morning. I woke up at 5 a.m., couldn't sleep. My brain wouldn't stop spinning. I went deeper into the financial records. Bank accounts, credit reports, every statement I could access. That's when I found it. A joint account. My name listed as primary. Balance, $0.00. But the transaction history told a different story. $87,000 withdrawn over 14 months. Transfers labeled investment fund, property management, business venture. All of them going to accounts I'd never heard of. I called the bank's fraud department the second they opened. "These signatures aren't mine," I told the investigator, my voice tight. She went quiet for a moment. Then, "We'll need you to file a police report. This is identity theft. Multiple felonies." I hung up and walked straight to my bedroom. To Ruth's jewelry box, the mahogany one with the silver clasp she'd kept on her dresser for as long as I could remember. I opened it, started taking inventory. Ruby ring, gone, worth $12,000. Pearl necklace, gone, worth $8,000. Gold watch, gone, worth $15,000. My stomach dropped. These weren't just valuable, they were heirlooms. Ruth's mother had given her that necklace on her wedding day. I waited until they left for errands, probably more spending sprees, and searched my mom's room. Nightstand drawer, hidden under old magazines, pawn shop receipts, 3 different shops. Total sales, $18,400. One receipt was dated 3 days after Ruth's funeral. 3 days. They'd started stealing before we'd even cleared out her house. Then I checked my credit report. One more time, just to be thorough. Personal loan, $45,000. Lender, Pacific Northwest Lending. I called them immediately. Your brother provided all documentation, the loan officer said. Property deed, income verification, employment history. What property? I interrupted, my blood turning to ice. The house at 2847 Southeast Maple Street, listed as collateral. My house. The one I bought with Ruth's inheritance. I never signed anything authorizing this. Silence. Then. Ma'am, if your brother defaults, we foreclose on the property. First missed payment is due in 11 days. I could lose my home? Because of a loan I never approved. I hung up, sat there staring at my wall, numb. Then I remembered the shared family computer, the old desktop in the corner of the living room we all used. I opened the browser history, found recently accessed Google Docs, title, Fresh Start, Phoenix Plan. I clicked it. Detailed roadmap, every step laid out like a heist movie. Drain remaining accounts, sell jewelry, max out credit cards, disappear to Arizona. They'd already picked out a house in Scottsdale. Move-in date, 6 weeks away. Budget breakdown, $215,000 target, exactly what I had left. At the bottom, Garrett had left a note. Once we're gone, she'll be too embarrassed to press charges, family loyalty and all that BS. The Phoenix plan had a timeline, a countdown, 42 days, and they'd already booked one-way flights. Then I found my mom's journal, leather-bound, hidden under her mattress while I was looking for more jewelry receipts. Page after page about managing Lois, maintaining the illusion. And then the line that broke something inside me. She's so desperate for approval, she'll never see us coming. Ruth raised a fool. I sat on my bedroom floor, surrounded by printed bank statements and pawn shop receipts and screenshots of their escape plan. And I broke. Not crying, just empty. The family I'd grieved for when Ruth died never existed. I'd been alone the whole time. I had all the evidence I needed for criminal charges. But Sunday morning, I discovered something that changed everything. The person behind this wasn't just my parents and Garrett. Someone else was pulling the strings. If you found out your family was planning to rob you and flee, would you call the police immediately or plan revenge? Comment A for police, B for revenge. Sunday morning. I woke up thinking about those emails, the ones from VK. I pulled up my dad's inbox again, searched for that email address. 47 messages, all from vkellerstrattonfinancial.com. Vanessa Keller, financial advisor, CPA, estate planner. I started reading, and my blood went cold. This wasn't just theft. This was a blueprint. Email from 8 months ago. The key is making her think she's in control while systematically draining everything. Move slowly, small amounts she won't question, then larger transfers once trust is established. Another one from 6 months ago. Forge the signatures carefully. Use her own computer so the IP matches. Credit bureaus won't flag it as suspicious. Vanessa wasn't just advising them, she was orchestrating the entire operation. I dug deeper. Found calendar invites. Property management meetings. 5 of them over the past year. All scheduled during my work hours. All at my house. Vanessa had been in my home 5 times. Sitting at my kitchen table while I was at the office, coaching my family on how to rob me blind. Her fee? 15% of everything they took. Her cut so far? 13,410ers. Services included: forging documents, creating shell accounts, coaching them on manipulation tactics. She'd even provided scripts, actual written lines they should say to keep me compliant. I sat there staring at my screen, feeling sick. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't desperation. This was professional-grade fraud. I couldn't process this alone anymore. I called Trinity, my friend since college, the one person I knew wouldn't sugarcoat anything. "Meet me at Stumptown," I said. "Now." 20 minutes later, we were sitting in a corner booth downtown. I handed her my phone with the emails pulled up. She read in silence. Her face went from confused to angry to something close to murderous. "Lois." She looked up at me. "This isn't just theft. This is organized fraud. They've been running a con on you." That's when I finally cried. First real tears since discovering the betrayal. Trinity pulled me into a hug while I shook. "Don't confront yet," she said when I'd calmed down. "Lock everything down first, then destroy them legally." I opened a new account at Columbia Credit Union. Different bank, different everything. Transferred all $215,000 to an account only I could access. Then I went on a password-changing spree. Email, bank accounts, investment portfolios, insurance, everything. Enabled 2-factor authentication on every single platform. Removed my parents as authorized users on all accounts. Called Pacific Northwest Lending. Reported the fraudulent loan. Froze the entire process. Contacted every credit card company. Disputed every charge I didn't make. While I was changing passwords, I found something else about Vanessa Keller. She'd done this before. 3 other families. Same exact pattern. Inheritance, manipulation, asset extraction. She was a professional predator. That's when I realized something. I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. I was stopping them from doing this to someone else. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice. Should she have warned Vanessa Keller's other victims? Or focused only on her own case? What would you do? Comment below. Some people say family deserves second chances. I disagree. Blood doesn't excuse theft. Family who steals from you? They're criminals who happen to share your DNA. This story gets worse before it gets better. Subscribe to Revenge with Nick so you don't miss how Lois burns their entire scheme to the ground. Monday afternoon, I sat across from Zara Flynn in her downtown law office. Corner office, mahogany conference table, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Willamette River. I spread everything across that table: printed bank statements, forged signatures, email evidence, Vanessa's correspondence, pawn shop receipts, screenshots of the Phoenix plan. Zara picked up each document, examining them with the kind of focus surgeons probably use. "This is textbook fraud," she said finally. "Identity theft, conspiracy. We're talking multiple felonies here." What do? "We file a police report today, get a restraining order, press charges against all 4 of them, your parents, your brother, and Vanessa Keller." "All 4? All 4? Her voice was firm. "They're all complicit. They all need to face consequences." "How much is this going to cost me?" $15,000 retainer. I pulled out my checkbook, wrote the check right there. Best money I'd ever spend. 2 hours later, I was at Central Precinct, Portland Police Bureau. Detective Omar Price took my statement. He was mid-40s, graying hair, kind eyes that got harder the more I talked. 3 hours of testimony. I presented everything chronologically. The phone call, the bank transfers, the forged credit card, the jewelry theft, the loan against my house, the Phoenix plan, Vanessa Keller's emails. When I finished, Detective Price leaned back in his chair. "This is one of the most thorough evidence collections I've seen from a civilian," he said. "You documented everything." "I'm a software engineer. Documentation is kind of my thing." He smiled, then assigned me a case number, FRD 2024-089347. "We're opening a full investigation," he said. "Your case might expose something much bigger. This Vanessa Keller, she could be running a multi-state operation." Tuesday morning, my dad texted me, "Can we talk about a loan?" Perfect timing. I bought a digital recorder, practiced casual conversation in my mirror, planned every word. That evening, he approached me in the kitchen. "Honey, I hate to ask, but we need about 10,000 for car repairs. The transmission's shot." I hit record on the device hidden behind the coffee maker. "Car repairs?" I kept my voice normal, curious. "Which car?" "Mine. The Honda. It's been making this grinding noise." Garrett wandered in, leaned against the counter. "Yeah. Family helps family, right? Unless you're getting stingy?" They both laughed. That laugh. The same mocking tone from the phone call. I had them. On tape. Asking for money while planning to rob me and flee the state. Wednesday afternoon, I sent a group text. "Family dinner this Sunday. 6 p.m. Important announcement. Need everyone there. Don't be late." Their group chat, the one I was still secretly monitoring, lit up immediately. "Mom. Think she's finally kicking us out?" Dad. "Nah, probably wants to give us more money." Garrett. "Let's milk this last dinner for all it's worth." I screenshot every message. I could have ambushed them right then. Thrown them out Wednesday night. But I wanted them comfortable, confident. I wanted them to walk into that Sunday dinner thinking they'd won. Remember VK? Vanessa Keller? Detective Price called Tuesday night. She's wanted in 2 other states for similar schemes. My case might take her down completely. Sunday was 4 days away. 4 days of pretending everything was normal. 4 days of watching them spend my money, mock me behind my back, plan their escape. But when Sunday came, they'd never see it coming. Was waiting 4 days smart or torture? Would you have confronted immediately? I kept hearing Ruth's voice. "Sweet girl, some people wear love like a mask. Watch what they do when they think you're not looking." She'd been warning me all along. Sunday. I spent all day cooking. Pot roast, roasted vegetables, mashed potatoes, apple pie from Ruth's recipe, the one she'd taught me when I was 12. I set the dining room table with Ruth's china. The good stuff. White with tiny blue flowers around the rim. She'd saved it for special occasions. This was a special occasion. Just not the kind they were expecting. Folder of evidence under my chair. Phone fully charged, recording app ready. Zara Flynn on speed dial. Detective Price knew this confrontation was happening. He'd advised me to stay calm, stick to facts, don't engage emotionally. I wore black jeans and Ruth's gold necklace, the one my mom hadn't stolen because I'd hidden it the day after the funeral. Symbolic. Ruth was here with me. 6 o'clock. They were set. Dad in his usual flannel shirt. Mom overdressed in a new outfit. Expensive-looking blazer I'd never seen before. Bought with my money, no doubt. Garrett in dirty jeans and a stained t-shirt. We sat. Started eating. Small talk. Weather. Garrett's latest construction gig that wasn't actually happening. Mom's volunteer work that was really spa appointments. I watched them eat food I'd prepared, in a house I'd bought, spending inheritance I'd protected. This is the last time I feed them, the last time I pretend. 20 minutes of false normalcy, forks scraping plates, forced laughter, lies wrapped in casual conversation. Then I set my fork down. deliberately. The sound echoed in the suddenly quiet room. "I need to tell you something." They looked up, mild curiosity on their faces. Probably thought I was about to hand over more cash. "I heard your phone call. 3 weeks ago, the one where you forgot to hang up." Time froze. Forks stopped midair, faces drained of color. Dad's hand trembled slightly. What are you talking about, sweetie?" Mom's voice shook. I pulled out my phone. Hit play. Their voices filled the dining room. Crystal clear. Undeniable. "Living with Lois is draining the life out of us. She's pathetic. Desperate for family approval. Walking ATM. Once we drain the trust fund." 90 seconds of their betrayal, echoing off the walls. Dad tried to salvage it. "Lois, that's completely out of context. We were just venting." "Is the $87,000 joint account out of context?" I slid bank statements across the table. They landed in front of him with a slap. Mom's hands started trembling, tears forming. "What about the credit card you opened in my name? $34,700 in charges?" Dad's face turned red. "We needed—" "What about Mom selling Ruth's jewelry? The pieces she specifically left to me in her will?" Pawn shop receipts hit the table. Mom started crying, mascara running black streaks down her cheeks. Garrett finally spoke, that smirk on his face. "You're overreacting. We're family." That smirk, the same one from the phone call. I stood up, pulled out the full folder. "The loan you took out using my house as collateral? That's in here." I spread papers across the table like dealing cards. "The Phoenix plan? Your exit strategy to Arizona? In here." More papers. "Mom's journal calling me desperate and foolish? In here." "Vanessa Keller's emails coaching you on fraud? In here." 47 pages. Evidence of everything. I filed a police report, case number FRD 2024-089347, Detective Omar Price, Portland Police Bureau. You're being charged with fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Garrett's smirk vanished. Mom's crying turned to hyperventilating. Dad's face went from red to white. "You have 24 hours to leave my house. I've changed all the locks. You can't get back in tomorrow. Zara Flynn, my attorney, has a restraining order ready if you refuse." "Lois, we're your family," Mom choked out. "We made mistakes." My voice turned to steel. "Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't mock you behind your back. Family doesn't plot to abandon you after bleeding you dry. You're not my family. You're criminals who happen to share my blood." I looked at each of them. "Get out of my house." I didn't wait for their response, didn't listen to their excuses. I grabbed my keys, walked out my own front door, got in my car, and drove to a hotel. Let them pack, surrounded by their shame. I was done watching them lie. Was that too harsh? Not harsh enough? Exactly right. This is the debate. Comment your verdict. Guilty, not guilty, or justified. By the time I returned Monday evening, they were gone. But the real consequences? Those were just beginning. As I drove away that night, I remembered what Ruth told me the week before she died. "Sweet girl, love the people who love you back. Everyone else? Let them go." I finally understood what she meant. Monday evening, I pulled into my driveway. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I unlocked the door. New locks installed that afternoon by a locksmith I'd called from the hotel, and walked through rooms that felt both familiar and foreign. Guest rooms stripped bare. They'd taken their belongings but left garbage, broken furniture, evidence of who they really were. Garrett's room was the worst. Beer bottles lined up on the windowsill, fast food wrappers covering the floor, a hole punched in the wall near the closet. On the kitchen counter, a note in my mom's handwriting. "You'll regret this. We gave you everything." I read it once, threw it in the trash. called a cleaning service. Then my phone started blowing up. Text messages from all three of them, flooding in like a dam had burst. Mom sent long paragraphs. "There's been a misunderstanding. We never meant to hurt you. Please, can we just talk? You're my daughter, I love you." Dad's emails were formal, cold, trying to sound reasonable. "Let's handle this like adults. There's been confusion about the finances. We can work this out privately." Garrett sent one text. "You just destroyed this family. Hope you're proud." I blocked all three numbers, changed my email address, deleted them from every social media platform. They were gone. Digitally, physically, completely. The first week moved fast. Formal charges were filed against all three. Within 10 days, they were arraigned at the courthouse downtown. Dad and Mom showed up with court-appointed public defenders, the free ones you get when you can't afford a lawyer. They pleaded not guilty. Garrett tried to represent himself. Stood in front of the judge talking about family disputes and civil matters. The judge cut him off, strongly suggested he get an attorney. Garrett left that courtroom looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Meanwhile, the financial cleanup continued. The credit card company removed the $34,700 debt from my name. Their fraud investigation confirmed I'd never opened that account. Pacific Northwest Lending voided Garrett's fraudulent loan, removed the lien from my house. My property was mine again. The bank refunded $8,400 from unauthorized transfers. 2 pieces of Ruth's jewelry were recovered from pawn shops, the ruby ring and pearl necklace. Store owners recognized them from the photos I'd provided. The gold watch was gone, sold to a private buyer, untraceable. Lost forever. Then the extended family started calling. Aunt Patricia, my dad's sister. "How could you do this to your parents? Their family. They stole $340,000 from me. Would you forgive that?" Silence on the other end. Uncle Eugene. "Family handles things privately, not with police. They committed felonies. That's not a private matter." Cousin Bryn. "You're tearing the family apart over money. They tore it apart when they stole from me." Most went silent after that. A few admitted they wouldn't forgive it either. The extended family split. Some supported me, others sided with my parents. I stopped caring who was on which side. What I didn't tell anyone? Mom tried to break into the house Thursday night. My new security cameras caught everything. Her trying my old keys that no longer worked. Then attempting to jimmy open a window with a screwdriver. I sent the footage to Detective Price Friday morning. Another charge added to her case. Breaking and entering. Friday afternoon, Detective Price called with an update about Vanessa Keller. "She's in custody. Your evidence connected her to 6 other families across 3 states. Federal prosecutors are building a case. She's looking at 15 to 20 years. 6 other families. 6 other people she'd helped rob during their grief. Victims were coming forward, starting lawsuits. I agreed to testify when her trial began. I felt vindication, but also sadness. How many families had they destroyed? Saturday night, I sat in Ruth's old rocking chair, the one she'd rocked me in as a child, wrapped myself in her quilt that still smelled faintly of her lavender lotion. And I finally let myself grieve. Not for my parents. They made their choices. But for the family I thought I had. For the childhood I'd rewritten in my mind as loving when it was always conditional. The legal case would take months. But life didn't pause for justice. I had a choice. Let their betrayal define me or build something new. Guess which one I chose? If extended family pressured you to drop charges, would you stand firm or give in? Comment, Team Stand Firm or Team Family Peace. 1 year passed. What happened to them? What happened to me? The answer to both questions will surprise you. I got a call from Ingrid. She was Ruth's friend from church. Sweet woman in her 70s who still sent me Christmas cards. I thought you should know, she said carefully. I saw your parents at the grocery store yesterday. I hadn't been following their case closely. My lawyer handled the court dates, kept me updated only when necessary. But Ingrid filled in the details I'd missed. 4 months after charges were filed, they'd all taken plea deals. Turned out none of them wanted to go to trial. Too much evidence, too many witnesses, too much risk of harsher sentences. Dad pleaded guilty to identity theft and fraud. 3 years probation, 200 hours of community service, ordered to pay $45,000 in restitution to me, in monthly payments he could barely afford. Mom got the same deal, plus an additional charge for receiving stolen property, the jewelry she'd sold. Same probation terms, same restitution, same community service picking up trash along highways in orange vests. Garrett got the worst of it. 6 months in county jail followed by 5 years of probation. The fraudulent loan using my house as collateral pushed him into harsher sentencing territory. Forgery, identity theft, attempted grand theft. The prosecutor threw everything at him. He'd served his time, was released 3 weeks ago. And now, criminal records followed all 3 of them everywhere. Background checks flagged them at every apartment application, every job interview, every credit card application. That's why, as Ingrid explained, my parents were living in a rundown studio apartment in Beaverton. 1 room, shared bathroom down the hall, the kind of place you rent when literally no one else will take you. Dad was working night shifts at a warehouse, minimum wage. Lifting boxes at 58 years old with a bad back that was getting worse. His body was breaking down under work it was never meant to do. Mom was cleaning houses, $15 an hour. Her arthritis made every scrub, every vacuum push painful. But she needed the money for restitution payments. They couldn't get approved for better housing. Credit destroyed. Background checks showed fraud convictions. Landlords saw identity theft and immediately said no. The Phoenix Plan? Their dream escape to Arizona? Collapsed. Completely. They couldn't leave the state. Probation terms required them to stay in Oregon, check in with probation officers monthly, submit to random drug tests, maintain employment. They were trapped for 3 years minimum. Garrett had it worse. Construction companies wouldn't hire him. Word got around about the fraud conviction. No one trusts a thief on their job site. No one hands power tools to someone who forged documents. He was living in his truck, parking in Walmart lots, showering at Planet Fitness using a membership he probably couldn't afford. I checked his social media once. Morbid curiosity. He'd posted about injustice and being betrayed by family who turned on us over money. The comments section tore him apart. People who knew the truth calling him out. You stole from your sister. You're the betrayer. You got exactly what you deserved. His friend count went from 847 to 34. Then came Vanessa Keller's trial. Federal courthouse. I testified for 2 hours. Told the jury everything. The emails. The coaching sessions in my kitchen. The 15% cut. The 6 other families she'd destroyed. She was convicted on 23 counts. Fraud, conspiracy, identity theft across state lines. The judge's words hit hard. You preyed on families during their most vulnerable moments. You exploited grief, manipulated trust, and destroyed lives for profit. You deserve every day of this sentence. 18 years in federal prison. $2.4 million in restitution to victims. I sat in the gallery and felt a weight I'd been carrying for months finally lift from my shoulders. Justice. As for me, I moved to a smaller townhouse in Selwood. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, garden space where I planted tomatoes the way Ruth taught me when I was 10. Started an online business called Ruth's Legacy, selling restored vintage jewelry. estate pieces I'd buy at auctions and estate sales, clean up, photograph beautifully, and resell with their histories attached. People loved the stories behind each piece. 6 months in, I was making $8,000 a month profit. More than my software job had ever paid. My inheritance? I'd invested the remaining money wisely. Diversified portfolio, index funds, a few carefully chosen stocks. It was growing. I joined a therapy group for financial abuse survivors. Made real friends there. People who understood what it felt like to be used by the people who were supposed to love you. Started dating someone. Casual. Slow. Learning to trust again. One coffee date at a time. I recovered $68,000 total through legal settlements and restitution payments. The rest, over $270,000, was gone forever. Spent. Wasted. Unrecoverable. But here's the thing about money. I made more. They can't. Their credit is ruined for 7 years minimum. Their criminal records? Permanent. Their reputation? Destroyed in every circle that matters. My life? Better than it's ever been. I don't feel guilty anymore. Therapy helped. So did time. So did watching them face real consequences while I thrived. Some people say forgiveness is freedom. For me, boundaries were freedom. Distance was peace. But this story has one final twist. 3 weeks ago, I got a letter. From someone I never expected. And what it said changed how I see everything. Do you think they got what they deserved? Or was karma too harsh? Comment. Team justice served or team too far? Guess who sent the letter and what happened thereafter? Subscribe so you don't miss the ending. This is where everything comes full circle. The envelope was plain. No return address. Postmarked from Beaverton. I opened it standing at my mailbox, not sure what to expect. Handwritten letter. My mom's handwriting. Shaky. Uncertain. I read it once, then twice, then a third time. It wasn't an apology. Not exactly. Wasn't asking for money or forgiveness or reconciliation. Just this. You were right. We destroyed the best thing in our lives. I see that now. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know. Ruth would be proud of how you protected yourself. I'm sorry I made you have to. I stood there holding that letter for 10 minutes, unsure how to feel. Angry, sad, vindicated, all of it. None of it. I didn't respond, but I didn't throw it away either. I tucked it into Ruth's journal, the pages where she'd written about unconditional love. Let it live there, with her words. That afternoon, I was in my garden, tending the tomato plants. I thought about the past 18 months, discovery, investigation, confrontation, legal battles, healing, and I realized something. I didn't lose a family. I escaped people who never valued me. There's a difference. Ruth's voice echoed in my memory. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. She was right. That evening, my therapy group came over for dinner. Trinity, the friend who validated me when I needed it most. Zara, my lawyer who'd become a genuine friend. 3 others from the financial abuse survivors group. We cooked together, laughed, shared stories, supported each other through hard days and celebrated victories. This was family, chosen, earned, real. So if you're listening to this story, if you're in the position I was in, hear this. If family is using you, taking advantage, making you feel guilty for having boundaries, you need to know something. You are not responsible for their choices. You are not selfish for protecting yourself. Blood doesn't excuse abuse. I lost $272,000 to their theft, but I gained something more valuable: self-respect, freedom, peace. Would I do it again? Report them, press charges, cut them off completely? Yes. Every single time. This isn't a revenge story. It's a survival story. I didn't destroy my family. They destroyed themselves. I just refused to go down with them. That Tuesday night, when their voices crackled through my phone, I had a choice: hang up and pretend, or keep listening and face the truth. I chose truth. It hurt. It cost me. But it saved me. Some of you will say I should have forgiven them. That family deserves second chances. To you, I ask, how many chances does someone get before you matter more than their comfort? For me, the answer was one. They had their chance. They blew it. No regrets. What would you have done in my position? Comment below. I read every single one. If you've survived family betrayal, drop your story in the comments. Let's support each other. Team forgiveness or team boundaries? Cast your vote. On a scale of 1 to 10, how justified was my response? Be honest. If you subscribed during this story, welcome to Revenge with Nick. You just joined a community of people who believe protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. New revenge stories every day. Hit that notification bell, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. Remember, the best revenge isn't just living well, it's making sure they see you living well while they suffer the consequences of their own choices. And that's exactly what happened here. See you in the next story.